What's happening, fellow roaders? I'm Joshua Thomas, and this is Sean Sullivan.
What's up, choo-choos?
And you're watching another episode of 3 Games You Should Play Instead of. And today, we're talking about Uno.
Last card.
Yep.
But if you don't say Uno, you gotta pick up another card. Honestly, Uno's not a bad game.
It's not horrible.
I kind of like it. It's just...
It can go long.
Yeah.
It can drag out sometimes.
It's got a very simple concept that just sort of keeps going. Again, it can have some fun moments. Like if you stack up towards the end of the game with a whole lot of skip cards and just go one bop 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 bop, you win immediately.
Yeah.
It can be funny to like line up some of that stuff. But the game takes way too long.
It really does.
Especially if you have like a ton of players, because the moment one person goes out, then you're done.
Oh yeah. And so, what are some things... So Uno's not bad. It's just a little simple, and if you're looking for something more complex, what are we looking for in these games that we're going to suggest?
We're going to be looking for games that follow the same concept, where you're trying to screw over the other player.
Okay.
And at the same time trying to challenge them and trying to trip up the order of turns and trying to... Because that's really the best part about Uno, is the fact that you mess with the other players. Now, the difference here is that in Uno, you're limited to just the people that are next to you. Whereas in these other games, you're not limited to that at all. You can go ahead and play the board, play the game, play the peep round.
To go with the theme also, Uno's an extremely simple card game, so we're sticking to card games as well that have a little bit more complexity to them. So let's go ahead and talk about our first game on the list. We'll talk about this one quickly. It's Dead Man's Draw. This is probably the simplest one that we have on the list.
Right. Dead
Man's Draw is simply a pirate-themed game in which you have one deck of cards, and you're simply going to flip them over in front of the person whose turn it is. They're going to have one of 12 different symbols on them, and each of those symbols allows you to do something special. A sword allows you to steal from another player. A cannon allows you to blow one of their cards away, reducing the points that they have. And so all the cards have point values on them, but if your dealer, you keep telling your dealer to hit me and one of those symbols repeats, say you got a sword on your first card and you got 3 more cards, but then you got another sword, well, you lose and it's the next person's turn. But if you decide to stop, you get to keep all the cards that you got, add them to your stack, and add up the numbers at the end of the game. Whoever has the most numbers wins.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you threw in a little bit of blackjack into the whole thing with Uno.
Absolutely.
You have this whole kind of betting thing, and you're sort of gambling as to whether or not you're going to get certain cards. And the cards also help you to mess with the other players in a really nice way. And it's a little more organic. That being said, it's got a bit more luck to it as well.
Absolutely. You could end up at the end of the game with 0 points, and someone else ends up with like 47 points. Still a fun game, and it's quick. Less than like 10 minutes to play.
Which is the real major draw to that.
Yeah.
If it was like really long, and then suddenly you end up with 0 points, it'd be like, that's irritating as hell. But it's like 10 minutes, maybe, tops.
Absolutely.
And it's just gone, done. It's like eating, it's so small and so insignificant, but still with a whole lot of, twists and turns. It's fun and it's interesting, and that if nothing else, it's a novelty.
And then after that, if you get bored with that, you've got character cards you can add to the game, which give you special abilities that might give you the edge over everyone else. So that is Dead Man's Draw, one of our games to play instead of Uno. What do we got next?
Well, what I think we got next is a game that we've both played before many times, called Coup. Okay, and Coup, I don't know if we've covered it here.
We have, yeah.
Okay, Coup has been covered right here, and that's just a really simple, you get dealt 2 cards face down, and these are your rolls. And your rolls can switch based on things that you have and things that happen within the game. And the whole point is that you're trying to accumulate money and kill everybody else. So in much the same way, you're doing this, but you don't do this with cards, so to speak, or as you would do it with like a hand. You just have your 2 cards. That's it. That's the basis of all the rules. Just those 2 little tiny things in your hands. And then you're just getting money and using that money to do what you can.
Yeah, and so these 2 cards have one or two rolls on them, you could end up having the same roll, like the assassin. And if you have the assassin card, or even if you don't have the assassin card, this is the beauty of coup, you can bluff. Say you've got two assassins, but you really need to get more money, you can claim to be a politician and steal money from another player.
Duke money.
Duke money. That's what it is, the Duke.
Yeah.
So there are a few iterations of the coup game, and in the different games, the characters might have different names and they might work slightly different.
Right.
But if you're looking for just a good, simple game, the original coup is a great one to go with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the whole thing is that while you're pretending to be these things, you can work as these things. But the moment that somebody calls you out, oh,
you're an assassin. No, you're not an assassin.
Oh, then you're not. If you're not that thing, you gotta flip over a card and you lose one of your rolls, and you're still but you're still in the game.
Yep.
And it's just the moment that you flip over both cards, you lose. And as long as you can keep at least one roll, you win the game.
But if I'm incorrect in calling his bluff, and he actually does have an assassin card, then I lose a card.
Right, so you're playing this whole little game of shadows, and it's a whole lot of nice little intrigue, all wrapped up into the game takes about like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Really short.
We played 2 speed rounds of the game in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's hilariously fun. And just great. Now, the last game on our list is not short.
Nope.
But it's still fun, and it still has a lot of the variety that we're talking about.
Still got a bunch of cards.
So one right here we got set up, the Red Dragon Inn. Now, the Red Dragon Inn is a really neat game, but there is some drinking in it, so... I don't mean like it's a drinking game. I mean like you're in a tavern, and there's drinks.
Yeah, there's a drink deck that that's a bad example, that might have some alcoholic, that's a bad example, that might have some alcoholic beverages in it, and for that number is the level of drunkenness that your character goes up.
That's right. And there are a bunch of different rules for it, and it's some really neat stuff that goes on. But basically how it works is this. You have 2 tracks, or really just 1 track, of numbers on your little mat right here. And it goes from 0 to 20. Your alcoholism, the amount of alcohol in your system starts at 0. None, because you're not drunk. Your health starts at 20 for most characters. Some of them are a little different, but we won't cover that right now. But basically, you start off at like that, and then as you start drinking, you gain alcohol, that you took. If you start taking some hits from things that happen within the game and your other players beating the crud out of you, you take hits and they go down. And as you go down on this track, if ever the 2 should meet and your alcohol intake is the same as your health, you fall unconscious and you lose the game.
That's right.
Out. You get out.
Another way you can lose the game is if you simply run out of money, you got no money, you can't pay your bar tab, you're out.
You start off in most games with 10 gold, but if you're playing with 2, you can play with 7 gold in order to make it a little shorter.
Yeah.
But 10 gold, and then that's it. You might get something that makes you, get gold. And there's gambling in it as well, in that, you play cards with the other people, and if you have certain cards that are better, you win money off of your friends. So if you lose money, you don't have any money to pay the inn, and you get out. If you fall unconscious, though, you divide your money between the inn and all your buddies, because they're jerks, and this is D&D.
And the way you do this is by playing different cards from your hand, and what makes this game a lot of fun is that each character plays differently.
Yeah.
So take for instance, I'm Frank the Brewmaster, I'm a troll alchemist, and I can sell potions to the other players. They don't have to buy them, but they've got the option, and it can benefit me by making sure I have enough money to stay in the game, and it could benefit them by giving them some kind of ability that they need.
And he can use the potions himself. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's limited to just selling the whole things. They're great and they're useful, except some of them aren't. And sometimes he gets a card that just destroys him. And that's one of the things I really like about this game, is the fact that the different characters they play differently, but sometimes they have cards and things that will actively work against them in order to balance things out.
Absolutely. You've got Serena's piety tracker here. No one else has a piety tracker.
Right, but because I'm a paladin as Serena, certain cards I play will be different and will do different things depending on what I do. Like this card right here, if I play this card, then if my piety is really high, then it's not very good at all. It's just 1 fortitude. And if it's really low, the other player loses 4 fortitude for like 1 or something like that. And there's different ranges to it.
Yeah.
But not only that, it raises my piety. That's got this little... Okay. But not only that, but it raises my piety. That's this little blue arrow in the corner here. And that's the whole thing. There's this give and take with each character, and each one of them is really unique and interesting. And the more characters that you own, the more players you can have.
So yeah, what he's saying is that there's a ton of expansions to this game. So each expansion comes with 2 or 1 or 2 characters?
2 and also sometimes 4, but the base games are 4.
Yeah, the base games come with 4.
If you buy them, and there's like a bunch, I don't even know, but I've got a couple of expansions here. And these are just the characters. You don't have the whole game in here.
Right.
But you just have those few characters. But honestly, if you really wanted to, you can mix and match any of these characters with any others, and you can pick like someone from here, someone from here, someone from there, someone from there, and have a game. And it works, and it works great.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
And there's multiple base games too. Like this is the 3rd base game that comes out, and this is the original. So lots of different ways to play.
Yeah. And it's really great. That being said, out of all the games that we have on here, this is the one that takes the longest to play.
Absolutely.
And the more players that you have, the longer it is.
And it's also, because it's longer, more complex as well.
Right.
So we've gone far away from Uno, but those are 3 games that you should absolutely try out instead of Uno. So, you've been watching the Felroad Express's 3 games you should play instead of. Be sure to like and subscribe, check out more of our videos, and we appreciate you watching.
See you folks later. Merry Christmas.